U.S. Department of Agriculture has confirmed another case of New World screwworm in Texas. Ingleside is looking at its options as regional water woes continue, and SpaceX is facing a lawsuit challenging a federal land exchange. This is South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Thank you for joining me on this Thursday, June 11th. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has confirmed a sixth case of New World screwworm in Texas. Texas Public Radio says the latest case was detected in a calf in LaSalle County.
The USDA says previous cases of the screwworm have been identified in Zavala and LaSalle counties in South Texas and Andrews County in West Texas. The USDA says joint federal and state field teams have already expanded surveillance and response measures in the area. Ranchers and pet owners are encouraged to examine animals and report any suspected cases of the screwworm.
That was Texas Public Radio's Maria Navarro. Chris 6 News reports that Ingleside city leaders are exploring a new water source. City Manager Brendan Lewis told Chris 6 that city leaders have been closely monitoring regional water issues and are looking at long-term solutions. The city currently receives its water through the San Patricio Municipal Water District. One option under consideration is a reverse osmosis plant that would draw groundwater from the Jasper Aquifer.
The aquifer we're going into and what we're proposing has a larger supply of water than what the Evangeline does. Therefore, we're trying to find a different source of water.
That was Lewis speaking with Chris 6 News. The Ingleside City Council recently authorized Lewis to begin contract negotiations with 7 Seas Water Group for the project. A coalition of tribal, conservation, and environmental groups has filed a lawsuit challenging a federal land exchange that would transfer more than 700 acres of a South Texas wildlife refuge to SpaceX. Texas Public Radio's Corey Cook reports.
The lawsuit, filed against the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, seeks to block a deal that would give SpaceX 715 acres of the lower Rio Grande Valley National Wildlife Refuge near Boca Chica. In return, SpaceX would transfer 683 acres to the agency. Lakin Jordal is with the Center for Biological Diversity, one of the groups filing the lawsuit.
From the beginning, SpaceX has been a terrible neighbor to this wildlife refuge, and over the years, they have actually degraded the ecological value of this refuge land.
Plaintiffs argue the exchange violates federal laws requiring wildlife refuge land swaps to provide net conservation benefits. Jordal said most of the land to go back to the agency has no public access. SpaceX has expanded rapidly in the area since selecting Boca Chica as a launch site in 2014. I'm Corey Cook in San Antonio.
The City of Brownsville's Planning and Redevelopment Department kicked off meetings for the development of the city's first ever housing master plan. Officials say the housing plan will include an assessment that examines Brownsville's current housing inventory and compares it to both existing and projected housing demand across the region. The U.S. Census Bureau estimated that about 192,000 people lived in Brownsville around this time last year. Strategies developed through the plan will support private development while preserving affordability and expanding opportunities for residents. Additional public meetings, open houses, and outreach events are expected throughout 2026, along with the launch of an online public engagement platform for residents to give feedback. The completed housing master plan is expected to be presented to the Brownsville City Commission between March and June of 2027. Residents can provide feedback through a housing survey at the BTX Housing Plan website. 3 News reports that Kingsville Mayor Sam Fugate told community leaders and residents that the city is in a strong position. That comes after Wednesday's State of the City address. The mayor pointed out signs of momentum like new business development, proposed subdivisions, and major infrastructure projects. He also highlighted that the city is not dealing with drought conditions and water restrictions like most in the region, since it sits atop a large aquifer. Fugate also said that national retailers have taken notice of the city's growth. He also commended Texas A&M University Kingsville, whose $80 million medical facility aims to fill a shortage of healthcare professionals in South Texas. In state news, Governor Greg Abbott is calling on Texas regulators to rein in data centers. Houston Public Media's Natalie Weber has the latest.
Abbott also promised to repeal sales tax exemptions for data centers and pass legislation to limit their water and electricity usage. University of Texas research scientist Joshua Rhodes says he expects state lawmakers to focus on data centers in the next session.
I think we're probably going to see a fair bit of legislation. Not all of it will get passed, but around data centers, the siting of data centers, noise noise levels of data centers, water use of data centers, energy use of data centers.
The governor's directive comes as Texas is on track to have the world's largest data center market in the next few years. I'm Natalie Weber in Houston.
Officials in Kerr County say they need an additional $85 million to wrap up recovery efforts following last year's floods. Texas Public Radio's Marian Navarro has the details.
It's been nearly a year since flooding hit Kerrville, killing more than 100 people and destroying businesses, homes, and parks. Kerr County commissioners heard this week about the state of long-term recovery efforts, which has so far included flood sirens, cleanup, and more. Disaster consultant William Whitson told commissioners there's still a ways to go.
We thank the state of Texas. We thank this body. We thank so many who have poured their heart and soul into this recovery, but we're only halfway there. We need more resources to begin closing the gaps.
Whitson says funding from the Texas legislature and other sources is still needed to build emergency capacity, mitigate environmental impacts, and continue to invest in the county's flood warning system. I'm Mariana Navarro in San Antonio.
A Frisco couple has been sentenced to 40 years each in federal prison for running what prosecutors called a massive pyramid scheme during COVID lockdowns. KERA's Emmanuel Rivas reports the scheme disproportionately targeted African-American communities and defrauded people of millions.
LaShonda and Marlon Moore operated a program called Blessings in No Time, promising participants an 800% return on a $1,400 payment. Investigators say the scheme relied on recruiting new members to pay earlier participants and ultimately victimized more than 10,000 people across the country. Prosecutors estimated victims' losses to be over $30 million. The couple was convicted earlier this year on conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering charges and were ordered to pay more than $4.3 million in restitution. I'm Emmanuel Rivas in Dallas.
In sports, the director of athletics at Texas Tech University has released a statement regarding this week's temporary injunction allowing quarterback Brendan Sorsby to play in the 2026 season while his lawsuit against the NCAA plays out in court. KTTZ's Samantha Larned reports.
Sorsby is suing the NCAA after being declared ineligible for breaking the association's rules against sports betting. Sorsby has completed a treatment program for gambling addiction. While the judge's ruling says Sorsby cannot play in the first 2 games of the season, athletic director Kirby Hocutt said that as the season continues, it will depend on his recovery and readiness. Hocutt also clarified that the university is not part of Sorsby's lawsuit against the NCAA, saying, quote, "Our role has been to support his recovery, not to engineer his eligibility," end quote. He continued to say that Texas Tech is glad Sorsby is still part of the community and that pulling him out of his support system, quote, "does not protect anyone." As reports surface of uncertainty from other directors in the Big 12 Conference, Hocutt spoke directly to his, quote, "colleagues," saying that he understands the frustration and aims to be transparent in his decision-making and conversations moving forward. The NCAA has given notice that it will be appealing the injunction. In Lubbock, I'm Samantha Larned.
And the San Antonio Spurs blew a 29-point lead to lose to the New York Knicks by 1 point last night, 107-106. The Spurs now trail the Knicks 3-1. Spurs star Victor Wembanyama says they fell apart after the half.
I think it's just, execution, greediness, some sort. We clearly weren't the most hungry in the second half.
The Spurs are back at home Saturday for a do-or-die Game 5. And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.